speaking of awards, I saw right before we started recording, right now, the odds anyway for coach of the year in the NFL, Dan Campbell's number 2, only
Ooh,
behind Nick Sirianni, the Eagles
Yeah.
coach, who's
right.
probably going to win it. But, for Dan Campbell to be right there to win coach of the year when they started off 1-6, and we were damn near writing the dude off saying,
I know.
you got one more year, man, or else you're gone. And he's about to win coach of the year, maybe having these guys fighting back to the playoffs. I don't know. The playoffs may not happen. A lot of scenarios still have to shake out. They still have to win their games. But this might be the most fun I've ever had watching the Lions. And I was a huge, that's not true because I absolutely loved Barry Sanders. He's my favorite athlete of all time. Ted, you remember the Barry Sanders days.
Oh, yeah.
Loved Matthew Stafford and Megatron. Those teams were fun to watch. This team, though, the way they play, the style they play with Campbell and how they clearly love each other with that video of after Wright scores, like, we believe in you, like all this stuff. It's like this Lions team, man, I don't know how anyone can not like them. Fun team to watch.
What an ugly game it was.
Yeah.
It was fun for about 2 minutes. That's about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that play. Brock Wright and Ben Johnson. We were texting about it, off the pod, and I'll be honest. As soon as Jerod Goff dropped back to pass, and it was the 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, like, oh, no one's open. You were thinking to yourself, what the F are they doing?
Right.
But perfectly dialed up. It's fun watching that replay where you see Brock Wright, basically sitting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, blocking the defensive end. As soon as that linebacker basically releases across the field, he just crosses right with them and just wide open, perfectly dialed up. Ends up going 51 yards to the house. Where does that play rank? Let's say that this leads to a playoff berth down the road. Where does that play rank in the great plays of Lions history? I can't think of one higher in my head, in my lifetime. Maybe the Calvin Johnson catch, if that would have been called a catch, opening day against Chicago Bears way back when. But I think it's the biggest play in Lions history in my lifetime.
Probably. Stafford made the playoffs a couple times, so maybe there might be a couple plays there we're kind of forgetting. I remember one where he drove down and dove over the
fake spike.
The QB sneak fake spike. So he's probably got a couple. But I'm definitely there with you. If they end up making the playoffs, they were about to lose that game to the Jets. That's the thing. They needed that. It was 4th and inches, and they're about to lose to Zach Wilson. So they needed that play, dialed it up, and they scored. So.
In that text string we had, you guys, you just have a feeling that they're playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and they're playing with real confidence. And look what it does to you. They feel like they can win. They feel like they can come back if they're behind. And you got to start with Campbell with that. Obviously, Ben Johnson, they got to keep that guy on board, man. He has really dialed up some plays this year, and that 4th down call was just amazing. I loved it. So, Jared's right. It was kind of an ugly game, but we'll take it. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot for a second, man. All right. I just want to get it on
where this is going.
You do. I just want to put it right on the table right now. And I think Jared and I made our feelings known last week, but I want you on the record. You saying we go for another quarterback or we stay with Goff?
No, I'm
right now. Not looking ahead, just right now for the future. Is he going to be our quarterback, or would you rather see them go elsewhere?
I think he's okay for now, and for next season, I don't want him to draft a quarterback this upcoming NFL draft just because they still have so many other holes. And with 2 draft picks in the first round, the Rams and then their own draft pick, they could really solidify defensive line, linebacker, cornerbacks, whatever. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about a quarterback because Jerod Goff, the same words I always use, he's serviceable. He's fine. He has moments where it's like, this is a really good quarterback. That's why he started in a Super Bowl for the Rams. But I also stick to, he's just a guy. He's fine. He's solid. He actually was not very good yesterday against the Jets. And he just misses throws all the time to the point where I'm like, we're not thinking that the Lions are at the Chiefs level where they need someone performing like Patrick Mahomes. So, that's why I'm not saying get Goff out of here. He's trash. Trade him right now. No, he's good. But if they're going to get to the next level, I'm not sure if he's the guy, at least in my opinion, especially when he's making $32 million a year. I don't know if he's worth that.
Yeah.
And when you're drafting dudes like Jameson Williams, who can just burn down the field and he can't even hit him on a 40-yard pass. It's like, I don't know. What are we trying to do? So No, I'm not saying ship the guy out, but I'm also like, if he's not going to take a pay cut and they're having to pay him 30, 35 million, the going rate for a star quarterback, in my opinion, he's not worth that. I mean, he's better than, the days of like Mike McMahon, Stoney Case, Jeff Driscoll, who started a couple games a few years ago. Yes, of course, Jerod Goff is better than those days. But there's a reason that Sean McVay was so quick to trade him for Matthew Stafford and ship a bunch of draft picks off, because he knew he wasn't ever going to win a Super Bowl with Jerod Goff. He knew if I could get my hands on Matthew Stafford, I can get him to the Super Bowl and we can win. And they did. So, I'm not one of those that's like, get this dude out of town. I don't want him, but I'm also not like, man, this guy's the next John Elway. Build a statue.
But yeah, you're not sold on him being the Lions franchise quarterback.
He did not have a great day this week, but I'm not gonna fault. I mean, you win a game in the NFL, I'm not gonna get mad at you. Yeah, I don't care. Yep. I mean, a quarterback, because you can lose the game believe me, I've lost a lot of games in my day as a quarterback. You can lose a game pretty easily.
No turnovers in 6 straight games, 0 turnovers.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Exactly. He didn't lose it. And when the game was on the line, he got a couple first downs before that Brock Wright big time play.
And he didn't clunk that pass.
And he didn't clunk that pass. And he didn't do anything dumb. He didn't do a Zach Wilson. Think about it, we ended up winning by what? 3 points. If Zach Wilson doesn't throw that interception in the second half that leads to our field goal, then they probably end up winning. So that was the difference in the game. Jerod Goff didn't turn it over. Zach Wilson did. I mean, he finished 23 of 38, 252. Definitely did not look great. Missed that big throw to Jameson Williams, as we saw. But I'm not going to sit here and fault the guy. If he's winning, I will be sitting here singing his praises. Believe me, if he has a backbreaking interception against the Bears or the Packers in that potential last game of the season, then I'll be the first one to come at him. But if you're winning ball games, I'm always going to praise you.
Who would
especially
you categorize
as the Lions quarterback?
Yeah. Who would you categorize him with? Is he kind of a Ryan Tannehill type? I mean,
I think so.
Ryan Tannehill is actually an athlete. Ryan Tannehill was recruited as a linebacker in college.
You think he's a better quarterback? You think Tannehill's a better quarterback?
He's accurate. He's accurate. I would not say. I mean, Tannehill's won playoff games in his day. I don't know. That's an interesting comparison. I'm not sure where Tannehill.
I didn't know if you were meaning like literally who are you comparing him to, like his style. I thought you meant
not style. Where he would rank as a leader of the team. There's no doubt he's the Titans quarterback, right?
Yeah, I'm saying like a Dak Prescott, like a Ryan Tannehill. Like he's not Patrick Mahomes. No, he's not Josh Allen, but he's also not Zach Wilson. He's also not, some of these other dudes. That's at least to me.
Do you guys believe in karma?
He's a word. Depending on how you view Kirk Cousins, he's not as good as Kirk Cousins. Maybe he's won a few more games and obviously made it to the Super Bowl. But I would say his comp would be maybe a little step below Kirk Cousins, but very similar play style.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd even put him below. Maybe you look at the overall stats, maybe, but that's pretty similar comparison, I think. And look at it realistically. Yeah, you could draft a guy and you could screw up all the karma you got, right?
Right.
And it might not pan out where what you got with Jerod Goff. You're going to have some of these days where he doesn't really throw great passes, but overall, I still think he's a top 10 to 15 quarterback in the NFL, and that they don't come along every year. So
right,
they got other spots to fill. I agree with that.
The Jets, I was impressed with their defense. I mean, Sauce Gardner,
really good.
Would have loved to have somehow ended up with that guy. I mean, the Detroit native. What a cool story that is. Him going to Cincinnati, kind of out of nowhere, becoming the star player. Never had a touchdown completed on him in college. I love watching him play. I think the superstar of this game, it has to be, and maybe we buried the lead a little bit with this, but Khalif Raymond. He ended up with 5 receptions of 53 yards. I mean, the punt return, we saw the offense. Chances are they probably were going to end up getting a field goal out of that drive if he doesn't house that punt return.
Yeah.
The player of the game. I remember we were all kind of maybe rooting for Khalil Pimpleton to make the team over him in training camp and during Hard Knocks, but he's done a great job filling in as like maybe the wide receiver 4 slot, and biggest play of the game. They won them the game, punt return, and the defense played their asses off throughout the entire game as well.
They did.
I just love seeing. I mean, we've talked about Ben Johnson a lot, their offensive coordinator, how creative he is, and you can see how Jerod Goff, who and this isn't to go back to backing on Jerod Goff, you can see how when a good quarterback, or at least a quality quarterback, when they have a good offensive coordinator, what they can do. You can tell Jerod Goff is 100% in on Ben Johnson's play calling and everything like that. They're just in sync. Whereas Matthew Stafford was having to deal with like Jim Bob Cooter and Matt Patricia and some of these other dudes. And it's just like, you could tell it was just Stafford going out there slinging it around, just doing his thing. And part of what I like is talking about Khalif Raymond. They bring him in for like end arounds, or they give him like bubble screens, or they even handed the ball off to Amon-Ra St. Brown a couple times in the backfield. I just like seeing the way that they use their athletes. I think they're still easing Jameson Williams back in. I hope that they figure out a way to start using him a little more. But I like because it seemed like I remember times when we had Megatron, and it would be like sometimes there'd be those games where it was getting into the third quarter, and it was like, oh yeah, what's he done? Oh, he only has one catch. And it'd be like, you have this dude in Kelvin Johnson. How are you not like just figuring out a way to get him the ball? And it seems like Ben Johnson figures out ways to get St. Brown the ball. Raymond, he gives, Swift, when he's healthy, he gets him out on space so he can, make some moves and stuff like that. So I love seeing this offense right now. And the one thing, Dan Campbell, I don't know what you guys think, that he decided to kick that field goal towards the end of the game when they were up 3, and it almost came back to bite him because it was another one of those situations like in the Vikings game earlier in the year.
It was almost the identical situation.
It was almost the exact same
and
situation.
He said he'd never do that again.
Right.
And our kicker is terrible. It's definitely going to come back on us.
Yeah.
Magically.
He's been okay. He's been okay indoors. Like I ended up looking it up. What was his season high this year? He made a 53-yarder, but it was indoors. He made another 51 or 52 in Detroit. So again, indoors. But I mean, when you're in New York and it's 30 degrees or whatever, wind is swirling, 54-yard field goal, man, I don't care if, your punter isn't that great or whatever. You got to take the chance and try and pin him deep. With Zach Wilson as a quarterback, it's like pin that dude deep.
And I feel like it's important to point this out. So think about how that game ended. New York Jets marching down the field. They have the big completion to Garrett Wilson. 55 seconds, I think, when he catches it. They don't call timeout. I think their next snap comes at like 32 seconds, 23 seconds off the clock.
Stupid.
And we rag on Dan Campbell, every time he messes up. Here's the thing. It's very hard to manage the clock well, is what we've learned in the NFL. I know it's easy for us on our couch with the announcers and, this 360 view. They can't quite figure it out. And they're some of the smartest, coaching minds that there is. So I just feel like it's a good time to point that out to Lions fans, that it's not just Dan Campbell that struggles with the clock. And I mean, we saw a lot of screw ups. I mean, let's just talk about this for a quick second, maybe before we get back into the Lions and maybe their actual playoff chances in the remaining schedule. Did you guys happen to see the New England Patriots and Las Vegas Raiders? How that game did? God. I mean, that's Bill Belichick. That's a Bill Belichick coach team. I have never seen a play so idiotic. And I watched a lot of youth football games in my day. I used to broadcast those games, 8 games in a day from the press box for free pizza, man. I've seen a lot of dumb plays in my lifetime. I have never in any level of football seen a play that dumb.
Yeah.
Think about it. If that happened in a youth football game, you would never live it down. You would think it was the funniest thing you've ever seen in your life. That happened in an NFL football game. Everything about that play was so hilarious. And if you didn't see it, if you live under a rock, but I'll explain it real quick.
Yeah.
Tied ball game, 3 seconds left, 24-24. Just run off the clock, go to overtime. They hand it off to Ramondre Stevenson, who, runs for maybe 15 yards before he laterals it. 0's on the clock. Jacoby, the wide receiver, just literally throws it right to Chandler Jones, Las Vegas Raiders. Like Mac Jones maybe within 10 yards of him. Chandler Jones catches it, stiff arms Mac Jones right into the turf, which is maybe the funniest thing of the entire play, and it just runs untouched to the end zone. I watched that play probably 40 times yesterday. I could not stop watching it. I've never seen anything like it, man.
It was so crazy. One of our good followers out there, Miggy Incognito, pointed out the freeze frame of basically right when that pass was happening across the field. Matt Patricia in the background looked like he was clapping. I don't know if he was cheering. I don't know if he was saying like "get down." Who knows what he was actually saying. That just made it a lot more funny too, seeing Patricia. As Lions fans, seeing Patricia over there melting down or whatever, but. That's just maybe along the lines of what you were saying, Jerod. In the moment, coaches sometimes flub when it comes to clock management. maybe, the
From
Patriots
what they
players
said,
in that moment were
yeah.
trying to make too many plays, but
Yeah,
that was
the
one, it had
players.
to be one of the most idiotic things in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, you can't blame the coach for that one.
No.
Yeah, and Patricia basically said it was not the play call. Basically, here's my hypothesis of how that happened. Stevenson, lateral it back, probably didn't realize that there was that many guys close to him, thought, hey, he could maybe score on this. I think once that initial lateral happened, I think Jacoby, think if you're mid-play, all of a sudden they get lateral to that, you think, oh, wait, are we losing or something right now? Do I need to lateral this?
Right.
But what I didn't understand is just what an idiotic, he threw it right to Jones. If you throw it, somewhat close to Mac Jones and it gets batted around, somebody probably ends up tackling him. But it was just such a perfect, serve it on a platter right to him just for him to take off toward the end zone. I just couldn't get over it.
Yep.
It was a pretty wild weekend with that play. The Colts were up 33-0 over the Vikings, and the Vikings came back and beat them. I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, I hate to be a Colt fan today. And then I was watching pretty intently the Giants and Commanders game last night. I was actually pulling. I mean, for the Lions, it would have been better if they tied again, I think. And they had a chance at the end. Washington was driving. There was absolute terrible calls by the referees. One where the offensive end was looking to the referee, say, hey, am I on the line? He said, yeah. And they call a penalty there. Then just an absolutely, completely blatant pass interference in the end zone goes uncalled. I mean, Miggy Incognito will be all over this too. He's always saying the fix is in the NFL. And some of the games yesterday makes me wonder on what these referees are looking at and why don't they change it somehow? I know they did try, 3 years ago, to make pass interference a reviewable play. And then I don't think they really bought into it at all. They just put it out there.
I don't fault the line of scrimmage play was bizarre. Because we all see the zoom in. I don't know what the ref, he definitely didn't give him a thumbs up like people are saying. He said something, and I don't think the wide receiver moved up enough before the ball was eventually snapped. But as for the pass interference, it was such a bang play. I mean, even Curtis Samuel got up and he wasn't throwing a temper tantrum. I don't even think he kind of realized that he was being held. So I don't fault that one. But the line of scrimmage, sometimes if I'm a referee, just swallow your whistle, man. That's such a pointless flag just to throw a flag because it's technically not a part of the rules. Read the situation, just let it go.
And it's one of those that makes me think about how often could you make that call the rest of the game? Is it literally every other play the rest of the game? People are lined up perfectly on the line of scrimmage in the perfect formation, whatever. You probably could have made that call 4 or 5 other times throughout the game. So why are you deciding to make that call right now? Kind of like holding, sometimes I'm you see dudes getting held almost every play in the NFL, but then they decide to throw it, certain times. So I don't know. Being an official, man, it would be a hard job.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist very often, but I'm starting to question if you're gonna put a fix in on a game, man, an NFL referee would be the guy to do it with, wouldn't it?
Yeah. 100%.
Right on coming down crunch time. I mean, you saw the guy. He was reaching right for his flag as soon as that play started, man. Yeah, it does make you wonder, and all of a sudden, it's a New York team that wins, I don't know.
It definitely is a little bit fishy. So basically, from what I've read, the Lions have 42% chance to make the playoffs as of now, according to 538. If they went out, 98% is the number. Where do you realistically, with these next 3 games, at Carolina, home against the Bears, and then obviously at Green Bay, I got a bad feeling about this Bears game. I don't think we're going to make it to this Green Bay game. Justin Fields, one-man video game. I mean, we know how tight it was last time we played them. Miracle we won that game. I just have a bad feeling about Fields. Just seems like it could be a coming out memorable Justin Fields type moment type game that just takes the air out of Ford Field.
My only thing is at least it's at home because we know not getting back to Jerod Goff, but he's been way better at home than he has been on the road. That helps. Yep. The kicker, like you brought up, Jerod, way better at home than on the road, indoors basically. And that Ford Field crowd has been amazing this whole season. So, and being the last home game for potential playoff spot, they're going to be up for that game. I almost wonder about this game in Carolina. I mean, because I said, it's going to be cold. Carolina, they're just, they're out of it. They're just a mess. you know, the coaching situation is a mess, the quarterback situation is a mess, but they're still playing hard. You know, like I almost wonder if they're going to look past the Panthers ahead to the Bears and Packers, you know. So just
they can't.
It seems like Campbell won't let them do that. You know, I don't know if you can say that, won't let them do that, but Campbell seems to like have a good like perspective, you know, within that locker room. So game by game, just one game at a time.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident they won't look past anybody at this point. And yeah, you can say Campbell won't let them, but I think what I've seen on this team, the players won't let it happen. You know,
Right.
they know what the past history has been, and they know what they got right in front of them, and they're going to come out and play hard. It does worry me a little bit about Fields, but it's almost like, you know, a basketball analogy. We'll let so and so get 50 points. We'll shut everybody else down. You know,
Right.
Fields is going to get his rushing yardage, but maybe they can shut down his passing. You know, that's what we can hope for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go
How lucky are we though, man? I mean, once in our life that I actually feel like we're playing some meaningful football.
I wish I could say once in my life.
We've harped on it a bunch. It's just there's something a lot more fun about this group of guys than any of those Stafford teams ever were. So
yeah,
just feels like it means more.
At least to me, like even as I've said, a very big Matthew Stafford fan, it felt like he was like the only thing. And you know, when Megatron was there, you know, obviously him too. But now thinking back, this team, like you use the word, we're going to start using the word every week. This team is so much more rootable than those other teams because of all the other characters, everything we've already talked about, everything that goes into this team. You know, a lot more to cheer on.
We always knew it was fool's gold, right? It was always the late comebacks, no running game, defense horrible. At least this team has like the makings of like a playoff team that could win a game. It seems it's not just Matthew Stafford, you know, going off or getting lucky is what it felt like a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Amen, boys. Well, it's going to be fun to watch. No doubt about it. Hashtag since 57. Let's go Lions.
Hopefully we can put that hashtag to bed soon.
Yeah, that's right.